Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Unique Moments, where we take a moment to breathe, take a moment to pause, reconnecting mind, body, and spirit. And today I'm going to be talking about free thinking, thinking freely, free thought, not critical thinking, but let's put it in the same wheelhouse, but free thinking. But before I do that, I do want to start off with some gratitude. I'm thankful for today. Today was a very long day for me, but I'm grateful that I have things to fill my day with. And I'm grateful for the people that I have in my life, my friends specifically. I've never been a person to have a lot of friends or real friends, close friends, genuine friends, too much energy. But the friends I do have, I appreciate and I have so much gratitude for them because it's special to find people that you can relate to beyond like a superficial kind of way or yeah. So I'm very grateful for the people that I have in my life, and I am grateful for my home. I'm grateful for my phone. I'm grateful for myself. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my wealth. And yeah, I'm grateful for the podcast. I'm grateful that I have been able to create 81 episodes, which is really nuts to me. Um, but yeah, and lots of other things to be grateful for, but we'll leave it there. Um, Before I start the episode, we are going to pull a card from the Golden Mantras deck and see what we got. Let it go, let it flow. Let it go, let it flow. I'm going to read it. That's very self explanatory, but let's see what the card says. Let it go and let it flow. My love, simply put, breathe, release, and go with the flow of life. You'll find your answers, you'll find your peace, you'll find your answers, you'll find your peace, and you'll be introduced to what is best for your heart and soul. And then there's a prompt that says, how can I release and settle into the flow of my life? Let it go and let it flow. I think that's very easier said than done. I just recently bought a book called Letting Go by Dr. David R. Hawkins, and it's very kind of boring and like scientific and talks about how to actually let things go. But it's very helpful in terms of practical practices because people say, like let it go or let it be, and it's like, yeah, you can say that, but how do you release it? I'm sure there are a lot of things that we hold on to that we don't want to, a lot of things that we would like to let go, which you can. You do have the ability, you do have that power, you can just let it go. But again, way easier said than done. But let it go and let it flow. And I've been feeling in that energy of flow. Not that things aren't serious, but I think the longer I live in this life, what I learn is you can only control so much. You can only control so much. And you can get it to where you can control pretty much a lot. But at some point, you really have to just let it go. Like they were onto something with that serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I don't know if that's the actual prayer, but it sounded good. But the wisdom to know the difference, what I can, you just have to accept what you cannot change and quite literally just let it go. Let it go. And sometimes you actually have to like, not fake let it go, but pretend like the letting go is actually is actually happening before you can, because sometimes you can want to not be mad anymore or forgive. And it's just like, you're just not ready. Like, you just can't let it go. You can't drop it from your memory. You can't forget about it. You can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop bringing it up. You can't stop thinking about that one time. And you still have the hate in your heart. Like, everyone has their own process, and everyone comes to the stage of forgiveness or forgetting in their own time. But I do think it's too heavy. We got to pack light. All the things that we're carrying can't go with us, and they really shouldn't even go into the next day, if we're being honest. Um, it's just too expensive, and it's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. Okay, so this episode about free thinking. I was thinking about this on my walk today, and can't remember why I was thinking about this, but it was something about Jesus. It was some quote or something from the Bible, and the thought that I had was thinking about how you can be a follower of Christ, but not necessarily be a Christian or belong to the church. And while that's not common, the thought that I was having was, I feel like there would be a lot more people in church or studying the word, reading the word, or living like Christ if they were allowed to just go and like get the word without actually joining the church or becoming the member. Not that you shouldn't join a church or become a member, but I think a lot of the times, just because you, and this is no shade to the church community, to Christians, to any of that, I'm speaking freely. I think just because you are anointed or receive a word from God to give God's word to God's people, that's fine. But sometimes people can resonate with the word, with the Bible, and not necessarily resonate with the church home or with the energy of the people that are in the church. Because it's not like, I mean, they say come as you are, and, you know, our arms are open and we welcome everyone. But let's be for real. Let's be for real. All churches are not the same. I've been to some beautiful, wonderful churches that have their arms open. But then there are also churches, and I would argue that this is most churches or religious establishments, there's certain types of rules, and they're often non-spoken rules that you follow, that you abide by because you follow that religion. And again, not that that's good or bad, but I think it can be a turnoff for some people if you're not accustomed to whatever unspoken rules this church or religious building has. And so I was thinking about that. And I was like, people would probably just receive the word a lot better if it wasn't so forceful, if it wasn't so give your life. I mean, I promise I'm not making fun. This is going to sound bad. It's all love, though. It's all love. Like, it probably wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't the invitation is nice, especially because if you need that, if you're literally on your last leg, like this is rock bottom, that salvation call, that call to prayer, that give your life to Christ and become new, that is a saving grace. Do not get me wrong. That is a saving grace for some people, and you can turn your whole life around, and that's beautiful. But I think there's often this push or this pull to join this, sign up for this prayer thing, sign up for the Wednesday group, sign up for the Bible study, come to the lunch, come to the brunch, come to the whatever. And me personally, I just, it's too much. It's too much. It's all too much. I want to go and get the word, maybe say hi, say hello, meet a friend, ask somebody how's their week, and then I'm out. And then maybe I'll come back on Wednesday, maybe I come back on Sunday, maybe you see me next month, maybe you don't. But it should be my choice. It should be my choice, not, oh, well, why haven't you joined yet? Or I haven't seen you at the Bible study. Or when are you gonna start adding to the collection plate? Like all these rules and all these things. And I get it, it's an organization and it's a business at the end of the day. But taking that as an example of, you should be able to just do what you want to do and think how you want to think and feel how you want to feel. And I think there's this pressure. Okay, now I belong to this space now. Now I have to start contributing. Now I have to start participating. Now I got to do the ushering. Now I got to do the this. Now I got to do the that. And no one ever told you. No one ever told you specifically you had to do it, but it's all these imposed ideas and these unspoken rules of, this is what a good Christian does, or this is what a good Samaritan does. This is what you do. And I think a lot of the times our thinking gets hijacked very, very, very purposely, but also sometimes very unconsciously, very inconspicuously, very hidden within the deep realms of the media and the news and everything, quite literally, that we have that we're paying attention to. If it's on the device, your thinking is being influenced. And separately, a separate thought, free thinking is important because we're no longer critically thinking. And I think in order to be able to critically think, it's a whole nother topic for another day, but in order to be able to critically think, you first have to know how to think for yourself. You first have to know how to think for yourself, how to question something, how to look at something, how to analyze something from multiple perspectives, from multiple angles. And you can't even get there if you're not thinking freely, if you're not thinking for yourself. And that's a skill. And it's not even a privilege. Free thinking is a birthright. Being able to think freely is a birthright. Period. But in some countries, in some places, it's not. It's not. And that's the issue. And that's the problem. And I think we should be able to freely think and freely speak and freely express. And in theory, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. You can think what you want to think and be how you want to be, but that's not the reality because our thinking is hijacked by the system. Prime example, and the whole, since the coronavirus is resurfacing, and Dr. Fauci and all of the suspicious activity that the people thought were suspicious is now coming to the light. What's done in the dark will come to the light every single time. And to be in that time, and granted, it was a scary time. It was an unpredictable time. No one knew what this coronavirus was doing. It was killing people left and right. We couldn't go anywhere. And again, this is just observations. But for the people who opted out, for the people who decided to make a different choice than the choice that was forced on them, those are the free thinkers. Those are the people who can think for themselves. And granted, technically, everybody had that choice. You can say, oh, you were going to lose your job, or they made you do this, they made you do that. You had to. Yes and no. Unless someone pinned you down physically and forcibly and stuck something in your arm, you didn't have to do anything. Again, it's under the illusion that you had to do what you had to do. And again, I get it. I really do get it. But I think the issue was with that whole thing is people feeling like they didn't have a choice. People quite literally thinking that they didn't have a choice because they were robbed of their ability to think about that by the system. By the system that tells you everything else, that feeds you everything else. Of course, if you say there's a deadly virus and if I don't get this vaccine, I'm gonna die. Yeah, that would make me raise some red flags and raise some eyebrows, sure. But hold on. I'm gonna say, hold on. Let me think about this for a second. Let me think about this for a second. And I think there was not enough people who felt like they could think about it for a second. Like it felt so urgent and it felt so dire and it felt so you need to do this now and set this up and do this and do that and do that. And whoa, 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 whoa. When did we get so serious? You essentially took my rights away. And again, no one pinned you down, held you down, but metaphorically they did. Metaphorically, they did, telling someone you can't do this unless, you can't go here unless, you can't fly, you can't leave your house, you can't da 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 da. That'll make you, well, I guess I got to. Well, I guess I have no choice. And what I'm concerned about is the fact that there weren't more people who were able to see beyond the fact that you had no choice and to make your own choice anyway. To make your own choice anyway. Thinking should be free. And things are starting to be policed, and I get it, the platforms are the platforms, and people get shadow banned and all these things for different reasons, but even that, you shouldn't be able to tell me, or even people get shadow banned, people's videos get taken down, people's accounts get taken down and deleted and reported. Why are you reporting me for expressing myself in the way that I choose to? Like, that's nuts to me. That our thinking is being hijacked, is being policed, that our freedom of expression is being hijacked. Like, that's a problem. That's a really big issue. And I think by nature, living in the matrix, your system is going to be hijacked at a certain point. I mean, unless you were just blessed and fortunate to be able to just from day one do what you want to do and make the kind of decisions you want to make and move how you want to move, and you're being controlled in some sort of way, some way, shape, or fashion. Until you exit, you're still in it and you're being controlled. And I just think more people need to be thinking more, and need to be thinking for themselves, and need to be thinking beyond themselves, instead of just the day-to-day being in survival mode. And granted, I'm not saying it's not a privilege. I think being able to think freely is very much a privilege and very much a luxury, actually, to be able to think for yourself, especially when we have these devices and we have things in our face 24/7. Do this, buy this, subscribe to this, don't get that, don't eat that, do this, don't do that, don't do that, work here, don't work here, do this. Like, it's exhausting. It's all very exhausting. And again, it's by design. If I'm having all this constant noise in my face, and then that's just the media. Don't forget the news, and then just your own life in general. Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to think. You don't want to think for yourself. And that's what they want. And that's what they want. They don't want you to think for yourself because, God forbid, you make different decisions and different choices that doesn't align with the system or doesn't perpetuate the system. But it's like, it's the goal is to wear you down to the point where you can't even get there because you're just so tired. You don't want to make another decision, whether that's you make decisions at work all day, or you have to think about what to eat or think about what not to eat because what's bad and what's happening and what's going on in this part of the world and what do I need to look out for and what laws did they just pass. It's so much thinking space, so much stuff in the mind to keep a track of, to keep track of. Like, I don't have time to think. I don't have time to critically think at that. And that's exactly where they want you. When you can't think for yourself, and therefore your thinking is no longer free. And it's not even about the right or wrong. Like, I think sometimes I make probably horrible decisions. Horrible is very subjective, but let's say good or bad. Good or bad is also very subjective. But let's say decisions that most people wouldn't normally make. I made a decision or two that may not have been in my best interest, but the simple fact is that I could make it. I would rather make a decision and it be wrong than not have the ability or the choice to make the decision at all. Like, that's very important to me. And it's like once that's taken away, even with the shows and the movies, and I get it, like there's good restaurants, there's good cinema, there's good music, there's good TV, there's good news and business and things to pay attention to and things to do. I think there are popular things that you can get on board with and that you can experience and do and see. But when it becomes so eat here, wear this. This is what fashion is in. This is what fashion is not. This is what people are watching. This is what people are not watching. This is what people are protesting. This is what you should protest. This is what's being banned. This is what you should ban. This is what is no longer good for the gut microbiome. This is what you shouldn't be eating. This is what's bad for inflammation. It's like enough, enough, literally enough. And it's only hurting us, because then you look up and you don't know what to do if someone doesn't tell you what to do. You don't know how to think if someone doesn't tell you what to think. Where's your autonomy? Where's your individuality? Where's your willpower? Where's your willpower? If they shut all this down tomorrow, no phone, no internet, no TV, no whatever, are you going to know what to do? Are you going to know how to live? Are you going to know what you want to do with your life and where to go and what to think? Are you going to know what to think and how to do things and how to figure things out for yourself? That's the question. And if not, you're in trouble. If not, we're all in trouble. If not, we're all in trouble. If you can't consult chat, who will you consult? Oh no, you'll have to sit with your thoughts and think. And if you've never been taught how to think, you're in trouble. Because thinking is a skill, actual serious thinking. To be able to, because every thought that pops in your mind is not a good thought. It's not a viable thought. It's not a need, do this, act now. No, no, no. You have to think, consider, revise, look at, examine, think another thought, come up with other possibilities, be able to see the projection of future outcomes, future consequences, future pitfalls in the plan. Can you do that without something else weighing in or thinking for you? And not even can you do that, can you trust it? That's also the thing. The lack of free thinking is developing a deeper lack of self-trust, because if it didn't come from your brain, because you're not thinking for yourself, we're not thinking freely, no one's thinking freely, we're having social media think for us and the government think for us and our parents think for us and our friends think for us and chat think for us. What happens when we have to do the thinking for ourselves? Can we trust it? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself? And even in the opposite direction, do you trust yourself even if you make a bad decision? Even if you think a harmful thought, can you trust that that came from you still? And it wasn't a random entity or something outside of you? No, it may have come from you. And can you examine that? It may have come from your shadow. Can you examine that? Can you look through that? Can you sift and sort through that? That's a skill. That's a skill. That's why I think thought leaders are so important. And true thought leaders, it's not even about, hey, look at me, follow me, see what I'm doing. It's, hey, look at you. See what you can do. See what you're doing. See what to do with your thoughts in your life. And I just think this is so important now, but I think it's going to be so important in the future. And I was thinking about the parallels between, I mean, history repeats itself, right? But what specifically feels kind of not weird, but interesting about this pocket of time that we're in is the draw to it feeling much like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where like crime was very bad, the illegals were on the rise, crack cocaine epidemic, they were banning drugs left and right in the 60s, civil rights. Like all of that never went away. Don't get me wrong. It never went away. But right now, eerily feels like a reinvention of that time with the racism, with the ban on ban on abortions, ban on weed, ICE running around everywhere, telling us what we can and cannot do, what we can and cannot think, what we can and cannot eat, forcing vaccines. I don't know if they were ever doing that in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but I'm probably sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm not a history person. Um, but it's interesting how it feels very much like we're still in a time where they're controlling a lot of what we do. And it's very polarizing. And I think during those times, the 60s, 70s, and 80s is revolutionary. So many things were happening. And I think during those times, thinking for yourself was considered a radical act. Free thinking was considered a radical act, and I still think it's considered a radical act. Like there was so much with the civil rights and the segregation and the drugs and the policing, like in the war, Vietnam. Again, don't quote me. I don't know any dates by any means, and that's very irresponsible of me, but here we are. But I'm not here to talk about specifics. I'm here to talk about the energy and the vibes. The energy and the vibes of that time was very much like, get in line with what we're saying, get in line because we're telling you to do this. And if you stepped outside of that line, you were considered revolutionary. Now you're a target. Now you're going against the grain. Now you're going against the power structure. And there's always been people going against the power structure. There will be that until the end of time. But it's starting to feel like I got to watch what I say and I got to watch what I do. But that's the only path to freedom, to true freedom. Free thinking is revolutionary. Free thinking is revolutionary. And during that time, what did they say? The revolution will not be televised. But it was very much televised with the marches and with the police and with the war and with the crime. It was very televised. But the real revolution always happens in the mind, always happens in the mind. And so the radicals or the rebels or the people going against the system is because they were able to conceive of a different thought. They were able to say, hey, this is not working. This is not going to fly. This is not cool. This is not love. This is not peace. This is not sovereign. We're not doing this. And did they face the consequences? Of course. And will we face the consequences? Of course. You're always going to face the consequence when you're doing something that is, one, against the majority. If everyone's in the matrix and not thinking for themselves and doing what they're supposed to do, and you're looking the other way saying, hey, why don't we run this race instead? Something's coming after you. Something, someone, or just the feeling of being outcasted from society or being different, of going against the grain, of doing your own way. It's some kind of pushback with that. And that's the trade-off. That's what you have to be okay with, because at the end of the day, it's either I'm going to do what I'm told to do, think how I'm supposed to think, eat how I'm supposed to eat, live how I'm supposed to live, how you say I'm supposed to live, and sit down and shut up and collect my Social Security and call it a day, in a nutshell. Or live your own life, figure out your own blueprint, think critically for yourself, think freely for yourself. Is that a harder path? Harder is an interesting word. No. Less traveled? Maybe. Now that we're in this new age, I don't think so. I think there's way more free thinkers and way more radical thinkers, but we're still also in that old energy of rule, of structure, of patriarchy, of hierarchy. But I think that's dying very much so. Very much so. And so, because that is dying, and because there are new systems in place and new technology and new AI and just newness, a lot of new things, a new world, a new earth, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Very, very good book. The Power of Now is really good, but A New Earth, and it talks about not necessarily any of this, but just how the new earth will be one where we are more in touch with ourselves and in touch with our emotions and in touch with our traumas and our healing, and less moving on autopilot and more moving intentionally, more presence with life. Same earth. It's not a new earth per se, but what changes your mindset, your perspective, your thinking. And when you change your thinking on things, your perception changes. And when your perception of things changes, your experience of things changes. When your experience of things change, it feels like you're living in a whole new reality. And that's the new earth. You don't get there by being told what to think and told what to do. You have to think for yourself. You have to think for yourself. And that was all I had to say. My integration is really just to start thinking for self. Just start thinking for self in any which way you can. In any which way you can. Because you'd be surprised. I mean, and I don't think any thought is really an original thought. There's so much influence of growing up and school and your parents and TV shows and movies and just wisdom from all over. I don't think there's an original thought. I don't think there's anything new under the sun. I don't think anyone has ever really had an original thought. But you can have a thought that comes from you, not something that someone told you, not something that you read in a book, not something that you heard via Instagram or TikTok or whatever. No, something that you came up with in your mind. I think that's going to be something that is going to be very crucial and very critical. And again, it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't even have to make sense. I say a lot of things that don't make sense all the time, but they're original. They came from my brain. I didn't drum it up from the internet. I had the thought. And I just think that's going to be very crucial in the times ahead. Very much so. And then that goes with individuality as well. I mean, if you're not thinking for yourself, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. And who wants that? What's the fun in that? What's the fun in that? Some integration is just to think for self. And before we close, I do want to end with 3 deep breaths. Whenever you're ready, wherever you are, we inhale and exhale. Another inhale. Deep exhale. And last one. Release. Until next time.